This is a story about the most powerful and famous magical family in the Empire, which has no equal. Their magical power is passed down through generations. This is what every wizard dreams of. Duke Elisha was a powerful emperor and head of a family who brought prosperity and glory through his family. Esteo, the elder and heir of the family who became a master swordsman. Boris, the second son leader and the strongest magic knight. And a daughter, the treasure of the family, loved by all and inheriting all their magical talents. There is another girl in this family, Angelica, who dreams of being in their circle, but she was born from another woman. All these years it has been very difficult for her. From the first day she feels superfluous and unwanted. Everyone she knows condemns her and is disgusted to even touch her. For them it is disgusting. The girl has a dream, to make them look back at her at least once and truly accept her into the family. Many years passed. All the children grew up, and on that day, the father suddenly noticed Angelica, brought her to some place and said that he was happy that she was his daughter. These were the words she had dreamed of hearing her whole life, but she didn't understand why he was saying it here and now. Finally, her wish came true, however. Duke Elisha could not say such words just like that. They stand with him over the abyss, and the girl begins to understand everything. It was like parting words so that she would remember him as a good father. The stepbrothers stand to the side, laughing and can't wait for their father to finally do what they came here to do. It's cold here. There's a draft. There's no lighting, just an abyss and my father's sinister smile that sends shivers down my spine. They stand silently. Her brother turns to her, calls her trash, and says that this is the happiest day of his life. He thinks that if she disappears from their lives, this world will become a better place and everyone will be happy. And he's also glad that today is the last day he'll smell that disgusting smell from her that makes everyone sick. Esteo stopped his brother. He asked him to choose his words in the presence of his father and to stand silently. He also doesn't like Angelica, so he wants to leave here as quickly as possible and do his own thing. The girl asks what they are doing here. She is alarmed that there is so much attention to her like never before. Everyone already knows that somehow, from the first day this abyss existed, their family became successful and rich. But so that all this doesn't go to waste, every year on the same day they have to sacrifice one of them. They have to throw a person in there. And since they are here with Angelica, it is all too obvious. They chose her as a victim. And the girl already thought that she was finally noticed. How wrong she was. She asked her father to tell her honestly why he brought her here. Although she already understood everything, she just wants to hear it personally from him. To which he replied that if the sacrifice of her soul would continue the glory of their family, this will prove that her life was worth it. And he said this with a smile that is impossible to look at. And he also said that this death would be glorious and for the good of them all. Angelica replied that if this was such a good and brave deed, then why wouldn't one of the brothers take her place? Well, or a father who considers himself the head of the family and would not do this to his daughter? She didn't even have time to finish speaking. For such words, he hit her in the face with all his might. After that, he reminded her who she was here, an empty space that had no right to even pronounce his name. All this time while they were standing here, he thought about showing mercy, but now he will not do it anymore. Angelica is right on the edge of the cliff. She is humiliated again and can do nothing against them. The girl asks that even if he dumps her, how will he live on with the thought that he dared to destroy his child, whoever he was? The man came up to her and said that he had never in his life considered her his daughter, and everything he told her was empty words. She is helpless here. There are more of them. They have servants. She can't escape anywhere, and the abyss is literally a few centimeters away. The father will consider that she has brought benefit to their family only after he sees her screaming and falling down. Angelica wants to cry. She is lonely. She remembers her past and cannot remember a single happy moment from the first day she lived in hell. She won't even be able to escape from there. There are guards everywhere. Even one person is enough to prevent her from doing this. At that moment, their favorite came to them. She looked for them everywhere and finally found them. The man is worried that she might see something extra and get very scared, so he asks her never to come here again. She said that she wants to be with them and is already tired of walking alone. She has the same thing every day. The girl looks at this happy family and already wonders whether it is worth fighting for this unhappy life. She is worth nothing here. There is not a single person who treats her well, and in general, there is nothing good in her life. Angelica made a decision. It is better to fall into the abyss than to suffer every second of her life. Moreover, these people will not give her peace of mind. She is sure that this is the best decision she could make. Kind Lily, who never said anything bad about her, saw the jump and smiled. The girl is falling down. She is home, that it will last much faster, but she flies much longer than expected. She has no emotions inside, just emptiness and nothing else. At that moment, she even felt calmer and lighter, although it seemed that everything would be the opposite. She thought she had fallen, but she was caught by a man below. He is very happy about this, but she hasn't even opened her eyes and hasn't seen his face yet. Angelica didn't understand why she wasn't in pain, why she didn't hit herself. She opens her eyes. This man had already put her on her feet, but she didn't even see him right away. She had to look closely in the dark. Suddenly, he asks her if she feels like her body is floating in the air, and then says that it's all because this world is not the same as the one she fell from. The guy sits on his throne. The girl doesn't understand who he is and what she's doing here. She wanted to die peacefully, but he was against it and even thanked her for doing it because there was no place for her there. He wants her to like the darkness, and Angelica looks at him and tries to understand if it is reality or not. At first, she thought that this was the very man who would determine whether she would go to heaven or hell. And then I remembered that he could be that same evil god that they say is sealed. In the abyss. The boy smiled back, but now she was less scared than when she looked into her father's eyes. Even here, in complete obscurity, in the darkness, she feels better than in that world. At that moment, he teleports and appears behind her and says something incomprehensible, and she doesn't even listen to him. The girl feels that here she can be calm. This world cannot be worse than that one. The stranger asked if she was scared here, to which she replied that she didn't care who he was or what would happen next. Nothing could be worse than her father in past lives. She is already smiling. She likes it here, and there is a feeling that finally she has got to a place where she can be happy. This man looks at her carefully from all sides and thinks how good it is that she came to him. He liked Angelica for her appearance, and also because she wasn't afraid of him and felt comfortable there. The girl is confused about what she wants. She doesn't mind dying, but now she's interested in finding out what kind of world this is and living here in the dark for a while. He asks her what she's been thinking about for so long. He also touches her ear, and it's a completely new sensation. The guy tries to talk to her rudely, but he doesn't see that she is afraid of him. Then he asks that if she was so brave, then why don't they unite and take revenge on those she hates the most? Now she has him. The guy has enough strength to help somehow. He just got bored here. He gave her a couple of minutes to think. Angelica was not ready for this. She was used to being afraid of these people and thinks that it could be dangerous. To help her make a decision faster, he reminded her how these people continue to exalt themselves at the cost of her life. How good they are without her, and how they looked into her eyes when she was at that cliff. Asked to look from the outside at what they had turned her life into, and how everything could have been if not for these people. They didn't even leave her a chance to survive. They used her as a tool and all, just for the money. The girl asked what he wants from her, because he is unlikely to help without receiving anything in return. He replied that he was interested in a deal and some kind of contract. In exchange for his help, she must help him get out of here so that he can escape from this boring and lonely darkness. He dreams about it, so he suggests being useful to each other and making a contract. Angelica immediately said that she does not have the power that interests him. She cannot use the blessing of her family or Maximum, to which he replied that she had no idea what she was talking about. Her magical power was taken away, and he knows it, and he also hinted that she has a chance to get it back. The girl can't believe her ears. It turns out that she had power, and if it hadn't been taken away, she would have become the same as the other children of the Duke, whom he loves. The guy gave her time to think. Now Angelica wants to figure everything out and find out who really ruined her life by taking away her powers. She wonders whether she should take this chance or whether it would be easier to just die and never see those people again. She fell to the floor and said that she would never forgive those people who made her die in order to save themselves. She said she agreed to sign the contract. The girl went over to the dark side and thought that maybe this is the side she needed to go to a long time ago. The guy was very happy. He laughed loudly and promised that when they did everything, they would both be happy. Some kind of energy appeared around Nick. Like a wind, he hugged her, and she felt that she made the right choice. He asked her not to be afraid of anything anymore, and if anyone dared to harm her, he would personally avenge her. After that, he said that in order to make a deal with him, they need to kiss. Angelica doubts that this is how it happens, but in any case, she is not against it. She liked him right away, and since she didn't care about the rules anymore, she did it without thinking about anything. A second later, the girl went back in time to the moment when she went out into the corridor and saw her brother with a sword. She doesn't know what to do yet, but she has much more confidence now. The girl saw the same servant who released the snake into her room at that time, and Boris, who mocked her the most and constantly walked around the house with a sword. The only thing that has changed is that she is no longer the same Angelica they all know. The boy looked at his half-sister and felt that something was wrong with her. Something had changed in her. He always saw her scared, but she came up so boldly and didn't run away when she saw his sword. And also, he didn't notice how he began to be afraid of her. His sister comes closer, and he wants to move away somewhere far away. This time, he asked how she was doing and didn't say anything much because he was just scared. After that, he said that he needed to go somewhere. He didn't want to stay with her for long. She stands still, doesn't answer him, but feels that everything is really different somehow. That guy gave her an energy that made people around her afraid of her, so much so that they wanted to leave. She was already interested in approaching someone else, but since Boris was here, she started talking to him. She said that she used to be afraid of him, or rather she thought so, but from this day on, everything will be different. Angelica started to provoke him. She calls her brother names the way he usually did. He thinks she's gone crazy. He said she probably has a fever. That's why she became so brave. The boy took out his sword, came closer to her, and asked him to do everything she just said. He put his sword to her throat, reminding her that she was a nobody here and had no right to talk to him like that. At that moment, the girl trusted that demon. She became brave and asked him to answer the question, what is the difference between her and him? He replied that she was nobody, and he was the strongest magic knight, and asked her never to ask such a question again. In a few years, the boy will most likely stand out for his magical arts, a combination of magical abilities and fencing, but he is still very far from that. Now he is an ordinary child for her, who has replaced it with something and uses the sword as a toy. He can answer her as much as he wants. She looks at it calmly and scares him more and more. Before, whenever she saw a sharp object or any of them, she always hid and tried not to attract unnecessary attention to herself. But now everything is different. The boy tried to scare her, but he failed, and in the end, he got scared himself. An assistant came to them and reminded them that he had already asked them not to make noise, and they were at it again. He was already tired of explaining to the master why he couldn't cope with the children, so this time he yelled at them a little. The boy got angry that they were talking to him like that. He thought that no one could tell him such things. He grabbed his sword again and started saying that no one can tell him what to do and that this is his home and he can do whatever he wants here. The assistant didn't react to this in any way. He just asked me to have fun and not argue with my elders. At this point, the girl asked to explain the situation instead of her brother, because he can't talk normally now, and she saw everything and can tell what happened here. Angelica was surprised why the assistant didn't understand what happened here. There was a snake in the room that could have bitten the child, and he pretended not to notice anything. The guy didn't even look at his colleague who died from a snake bite, and there is only one reason why he didn't check the condition of the child who could have suffered. This child has no value worthy of his attention. Besides, if he was truly imbued with the values of family, the only thing that caught this man's attention now, that the little boy could have been hurt, he thought that he would come and something would happen to him, but he is alive and well. And the assistant specifically controls Boris more than anyone else, so that he can constantly tell the master how disobedient he is. At the moment when she tells what she saw, she looks right through this man, because he too could be the one who at one time turned her father against her, and maybe she was his first victim. Angelica had already managed to tell everything, and in the end asked to be lenient towards her brother, because he allegedly protected her from the snake. The boy doesn't understand why she says that, because if I were the one attacking her, he would never defend her and would only watch it with a smile. The assistant asked the young gentleman if there was anything he wanted to say. The boy replied that he didn't want to say anything. After that, they said goodbye, and the assistant, as usual, would tell his master everything. The girl was surprised that she hadn't noticed this before. But really, this guy was slowly turning the Duke against his children. Lately, their father has started getting angry at Boris more and more often. Now it's clear what it's connected with. Angelica decided to deal with this man. She will definitely watch him and punish him for everything he did. Before he left, she asked that when he complained to their father, he be sure to mention her name. The assistant didn't understand what it meant, but she asked for it herself so he would do it. Now all the fun is just beginning. She needs a lot of attention. No matter how long it takes, she will set the stage for her place and witness the devastating end of this family. She really wants them to experience the same emotions that she felt before the abyss. The next day has come. Today the weather is beautiful outside, the sun is shining. The girl has been awake for a long time. She doesn't get out of bed because before leaving the room, she needs to think about what the plan is for today. She still has that same familiar fear that she can't be seen by her relatives. But now she can fear no one. With the help of her new ally, she is stronger than all of them put together. At first, she thought that she would only deal with her brothers and father, but now she suspects their servant that he allows himself too much and can influence the father's relationship with the children. Angelica is already following him somewhere. She is starting to embarrass him because before she was sitting in her room and not sticking her head out, she is sure that now he is going to the Duke's office, where he spends most of his time. She doesn't understand why he comes to Elisha even when he doesn't call him. At this moment, the guy notices that she is following him and not turning anywhere. He turns to her to ask how he can help and pretends not to understand anything. The girl didn't react at all. She stopped as if she was just walking in the same direction and wasn't following him. Everything is already clear from his look. Angelica is convinced that she needs to keep a closer eye on him now. He is too suspicious while no one but her notices it. The girl thought that there was no point in talking to him now. She said that he had misunderstood everything and she was just walking down the hallway. He replied that she could deceive him as much as she wanted, but that didn't mean he didn't understand anything. Angelica asked if she could go for a walk outside, to which he replied that she needed to have breakfast first and then everything else. She pretended to be upset. It was a distraction to get into the room. The girl was about to leave, but he decided to take her with him to tell the gentleman about her behavior right now. He asked her to come closer. She thought that there was nothing wrong with it. She came up to him and he took her in his arms and warned her that now she would understand that she shouldn't have followed him. Judging by his words, one can conclude that he understands that she knows what he is doing. Before she was very scared, she would scream throughout the entire corridor, but now she knows that he can never harm her. They came to some door. He asked her to put her hand in the center of the drawing. The girl didn't want to do it, and he said that it was better for her not to resist now. He took her hand and squeezed it so hard that she wouldn't take it away. After that, he offered her hand to the drawing, because if he had done it himself, he would not have succeeded. Angelica has no idea what's going on, where they're trying to go, but she listens to him because she's interested in finding out where they've come. She just let go of her hand as this pattern was transferred to her skin. The girl had never seen anything like this before and does not understand whether to be afraid of it or not. The guy says that some pattern will appear in an hour and she can consider that he is giving her a temporary chance. Angelica doesn't understand what this means. The door opens and she is already scared of what she will see there. It turns out that this is the very same office of her father that she had never been in. She was not allowed in here, and probably the assistant helped her do this so that the Duke would punish her for it. She came a little closer to him and doesn't know what to say because she was forced to come here. The man turns around and doesn't understand what she's doing here, and most importantly, how she could have gotten here. She wanted to follow her assistant, but in the end, he outplayed her. One can only guess how it will all end. Inside, she is struggling with the feeling that it is not dangerous, but the habits remain, and she is trying not to cry. The father doesn't say anything. He stands by the window and waits for her to explain everything. Angelica said she was glad to see him and asked if he had time to talk about something. She decided that she could pretend that she wanted something from him, but she hadn't yet figured out what exactly. The girl didn't have time to say anything, and he started asking about yesterday's situation because he doesn't believe that her brother could protect her. It's very hard for her to be here. She looks at her father and feels guilty, although nothing happened. He starts raising his voice, asking her not to be silent. It turns into a very awkward situation. Angelica didn't think she would come here at all. She wanted to follow the assistant, but he set her up. Right now, he is waiting for an answer from her, but he is busy with his own affairs. He doesn't even listen to her. The girl feels that he was talking to her only out of politeness, but in reality, he doesn't care about the situation or about her. You just need to figure out how to get out of this trap, what to say to make him let her go, because this is just wasting her time. She is under pressure from this whole atmosphere, and also from the fact that she hasn't really done anything for so long. When the girl was talking to that man, she really wanted to take revenge on everyone. But now she doesn't even have a plan. She is paralyzed by the very fact that her father is nearby. She is afraid not only of taking revenge on him, she is afraid to even think about him. Angelica is already thinking about changing her appearance. Suddenly, she reminds him of her mother, and that's why he reacts to her like that. When she was very little, she wanted to please him in everything. But nothing works for him. His attitude towards her only gets worse. This is how she feels inside when her father is around. Probably as long as he is alive, she will always feel that something inside is squeezing her and not allowing her to open up. How she dreams of being in her brother's place, to feel at least for one day what it's like to be in their body, to be a child who is loved and who is not afraid of his father and does not try to hide from him. At that age, it's very hard not to be afraid of anything, but she has to do it. She was given a chance and she needs to take advantage of it. At that moment, she asked him if he could hear her at all. It was very bold. And he asked if she saw who she was talking to and who she dared to raise her voice to. He is the one asking the questions here. The girl almost gave up, but pulled herself together and said that she had already answered his question a long time ago. But he had not heard anything, although in fact, nothing like that happened. The man was surprised how he could not hear her. He even apologized and did not realize that she had deceived him. It was very interesting. Angelica put him in his place for the first time, and she already likes it. She's already tired of being here. At least he doesn't yell at her. But still, it would be better if she never left her room at all. Father says that she distracts him and asked if she really has nothing better to do. There are other people in this house who can amuse her. He asked her to leave. Inside, Angelica was happy, but on the outside, she pretended as if she was very sorry that he didn't have time for her. Then she wished him a good day, and he asked that this day be without incidents. When suddenly she wanted to test how long his patience would last, she stayed on purpose, started asking him various strange questions, and restrained herself from laughing. Angelica wants to test how the power of the person she has a contract with will protect her if her father starts yelling at her or bullying her. She says that he, as a father, should pay attention to his children, especially since they haven't walked with him for a long time. So she hinted to go out to the garden. The Duke replied that he was very busy now, and if she wanted to go for a walk, she could ask any other person about it. He is already starting to get angry. She sees it and is trying her best to hold on, just so she doesn't get scared. She has lacked courage all her life, but now nothing prevents her from taking a risk, especially since she is under reliable protection. Now that she knows her role, bringing glory to this family, it should be easier to look her enemies in the eye, especially since they have long deserved to be punished. I wonder what she will do, how cruel the girl will be. The main thing is not to forget that because of them, she lived in hell since childhood. These people are her enemies. They must answer for everything they did, for every word and every tear that fell from her eyes. Since she's still in his office, Dad will be the first one she'll ruin. She looks him in the eye very intently, does not let him do his own thing, and is not going to leave. He also started looking at her, pressing, and no one understands when it will end. The man understands that she is doing this on purpose, wants to piss him off, but everything is not quite as it seems to him. In front of him is no longer the little girl who treasures his every glance. She once resigned herself to death, and now for her, there is no such thing as fear. The Duke can't take it anymore. He hints that he can't afford to entertain children during working hours. And she says that she doesn't understand why this is so. She is his daughter and children should come first. Angelica begs him to quit his job and give her at least 1 hour because she doesn't want to play with anyone else. The father replied that it was very brave of her to challenge a decision he had already made. After that, he asked her if she knew that he didn't allow anyone to distract him while he was working, not even his beloved sons. It doesn't stop her, she said. So she doesn't care about his work. He is her father and should spend time with his child. The girl puts more and more pressure on him, provokes him, and she herself thinks, isn't all this too much? Meanwhile, he says that if he does not agree to go for a walk with her, then she will not let him work and will stay here until the evening. And also, she can bring all her toys here, throw them at him, and this is the first thing she came up with. And then she said something he didn't expect at all. Angelica asked to be excluded from the family register. First, he asked her to explain this request, and then warned that she would be punished for it. The girl explained that she doesn't feel loved here. She doesn't want to be part of this family, and now she's convinced that this is the right decision. The man had previously thought about it himself, but she beat him to it. He doesn't like it, because it turns out that it's not he who is refusing her, but she. If people find out about this, they might ask why his daughter wanted to leave the family. He doesn't even know how to react to this, and Angelica is already ready for anything. No matter how he acts, her goal is to bring him to emotions. While the father is thinking about how to do it faster, she says that she already has an application and everything that is needed for this. Meanwhile, the girl says that she already understands that they don't need her and thinks that it will be better for everyone. She did not hide the fact that from the first days of her life, she felt that she was a stranger to them and that she did not belong here. But even talking about it was too painful. He listens to her attentively, thinking what to do with her now. Or rather, not with her, but with his reputation, which could suffer. They started talking about it, and the girl started crying. It was too difficult a topic for her. Nothing could make her feel so emotional as talking about her family. It is not yet clear why she is demanding to be excluded from the family register. Perhaps this is necessary. As usual, his child is crying, but he doesn't care. He doesn't even look sad or feel sorry for her. He just folded his arms, didn't react to her at all, and it was very offensive. Even though he was her enemy, she still saw him as a father. These cold eyes look right through her soul. She is struggling with the desire to leave here, and it is terribly difficult. Finally, he came up with something to say. The man says that there is no place for tears in this house and that he is disgusted to look at it. He doesn't understand that there is a child in front of him, especially a girl who is very emotional and vulnerable. She left him, went out into the corridor, and immediately felt much better. That office seemed to be filled with bad energy. Angelica stayed there for so long that she got hungry and forgot who was there for her. Then she remembered, got angry at the assistant, but didn't look for him because you never know what he'll come up with this time. Now you need to think about the main thing. It is better to go back to the room, be alone, and calmly think about how to move forward. She has too many thoughts, but they are all mixed up and will soon make her head spin. She can't believe she even dared to apply for removal from the family register to show her determination. And also, that pattern with the skin doesn't go away, and she wants to know how to get rid of it. It will be bad if my father finds out about this. Now it is better not to catch his eye and sort this out while there is time. And he is busy. Meanwhile, he sits in the same place, has not returned to work because he does not understand since when Angelica became so bold. Just a couple of days ago, she was afraid to even say his name. She would go away when he appeared in the same corridor with her and was very timid. He felt that she was under his control. And now everything has become different and he doesn't like it. She has become more fearless than her half-brothers. He didn't expect that from her. Different pictures appear in the girl's head. She already imagined how she would feel like the boss in this house and see fear in the eyes of everyone who bullied her. She really wants this to happen. Some dark force awakens in her, but Angelica is still afraid of appearing bad. She just got used to threatening them, and now it's very difficult to change so abruptly beyond recognition, out of the blue. The mere thought that she is alone against all of them makes the girl feel weak and worries that she has greatly overestimated herself. She lacks support from anyone. She has always lacked it, but now especially. She calmly walks down the hallway, looks around and approaches the painting that she hates. This is the very picture where everyone is depicted except her. Everyone is happy, together, and she is not even in the background, not even somewhere in the corner. Angelica had long dreamed of doing something with it, tearing it up, ruining it, smearing it, anything. Probably she will fulfill her dream in the near future, and something will happen to the painting after all. Several hours passed. She, as usual, walks alone, does not go outside so as not to have to be under supervision. She forgot a little that she had a mission and started wasting time without even noticing it. Out of nowhere came some strange sound. It was a hint from that guy that she had turned off the path and forgotten why she had returned to the past. She has very good memories with him, probably only because he is the first one who doesn't hate her. Considering that it was he who contributed to her place, she will do everything to fulfill his desire and prove to herself that she is capable of it. She even got into a good mood when suddenly she noticed that she had gone outside. But she wasn't scared because now no one would forbid her anything. She looked at this door, started to approach it, and thought that if there was that very drawing on it, then this meant that it was some special place, like her father's office. The girl remembered that someone told her that there was a library here, but she had never been here. It's not just a door, but a separate building that she didn't even notice at first. It looks impressive. Angelica hadn't seen anything like this for a long time, even though she had lived here her whole life. The girl thought, why not go inside, especially since she still had a drawing on her hand that could just open such a door? She ran up, concentrated, touched her, and everything worked. It was not for nothing that she followed the assistant. Without him, none of this would have happened. She really enjoyed doing this. It looks like magic, or maybe it is, but she doesn't have time for it now. Angelica enters very carefully. She thinks that there might be someone else here. She lifts her head up and sees something that looks like a stone floating in the air. She was scared at first, but then she realized that it was made that way. She had never seen anything like this. She had already forgotten that she had come for books. The design here was much more impressive than they were. The girl froze in one place. She sees a statue in front of her and regrets that she did not see it earlier. This is just wonderful. Apparently some kind of work of art. She just has no words, only emotions. You can feel that this is a special place. It is not just a library. She doesn't want to leave it anymore. Angelica thought she would see a huge room with books. Nothing special, but it's all just impossible to describe in words. And then the door opens. Someone came in right after her and asked who she was and who gave her permission to be here. The girl was scared out of habit and wanted to make excuses, but calmed down in time. The man says that entry to the library is prohibited, and if she doesn't immediately explain what she's doing here, he'll tell the gentleman everything. At that moment, he saw that it was the Duke's daughter, immediately became kinder, and said that he, as a librarian, could help her choose a book. She thought that he was the same as everyone else. She was rude to him. The man got offended and stopped being so kind. She told him that if she came here, it means she has something to do here, and it is none of his business. After that, she asked me to leave here, not to distract her, and in such a tone as if her father had said it. The assistant had not met her before. At first, he wanted to treat the child kindly, but she turned out to be just as impudent and rude as her brothers had told him. The Smore family, as loyal servants of this house, they are proud of their heritage. Cyrus in particular perceives this as pride. He is unwaveringly devoted to serving this house. The man values his master more than himself. He is dependent on the mood of the Duke and considers the meaning of his life to please him day after day. When he told her that he had always dreamed of working here, she thought it was some kind of joke, because normal people can't dream of working in a library. He talks about it so seriously that she wants to laugh, because she sees such a strange person for the first time. He asks her not to talk to him in such a tone, because in this estate he has only one master and only he can order him about something. In fact, she doesn't care about this person. The girl kept silent and pretended that she understood everything. She has more important things to do here. Angelica promised that everything would be fine and apologized for her behavior. And after that, when she answered the question of how she got there, the girl thought that nothing terrible would happen if she showed him what appeared on her hand. She said that it was some kind of key that opens any door. That's how she ended up here. The man had never seen anything like this before. He said that he would definitely ask what the Duke knew about it, and she immediately asked that he, under no circumstances, discuss it with him. Meanwhile, the father approached his son, who threw the sword on the floor as if he had not just held it in his hands. He understands that now there will be another conversation, that all this is very dangerous and it is too early for him to deal with this. In fact, the father decided to ask why the boy defended his sister, and he can no longer say that it is not so, because it will only make things worse for him. He says he doesn't know what's happening to him, but he knows for sure that something is wrong with his sister. She's not the same as before. The man asked him to watch her. He also sees that Angelica has become different from herself, and no one knows what is wrong with her. At the same time, he asked to avoid unnecessary troubles, so that later he would not have to call a doctor or anyone else. Boris sees that his father is very busy. He doesn't have time for all this, But at the same time, he doesn't want to fight Angelica alone anymore. He feels that something has changed in her, but he is afraid to even approach her and say a bad word. The two are still talking, but the assistant has no idea how to help her. He doesn't understand superpowers. He was very sorry that he didn't understand her, so he asked her to listen to everything he was going to tell her now. He, an ordinary man who swore allegiance to the Duke, but he cannot do what is beyond his power. It was always hard for him to refuse help to someone, and even more so to a little girl, so he was even sadder than she was. She tells him that everything is fine. After all, it was strange to approach this person with such a matter, and she understands it. Angelica thanked him for his support, even though he did nothing. He was the first one who treated her well here. She is glad that she met such a person, and at least he helped her to get back into a good mood. He said that it was absolutely mutual. He would be glad to meet her again, and after that, he had a good day. After all, the man got to know her from a good side. She turned out to be a nice girl, not at all like he thought. Angelica had already forgotten what she was doing here and began to think whether she should stay here at all. Meanwhile, the maids are running around the entire corridor for some reason. They are scared. After them, other people ran out. They were all running somewhere. It looked like some kind of evacuation or something like that. Bourne doesn't understand what's going on, he asks, but no one notices him. Then he looks to the side and sees Angelica. He immediately thought that it was she who scared everyone, although he can't imagine how she would have done it. He reflects on the fact that in a normal state, she would sit all day behind the door in her room, but now she can't sit still. She constantly needs to communicate with someone and do something. He wanted to check if she was as brave as yesterday, especially since it was his father's order that needed to be carried out. He started real surveillance, started walking around the whole house, eavesdropping on what people were talking about, pretending that he was just bored and was walking around the house. The boy goes down to the first floor, hears the assistant talking to the librarian, and it seemed to him that he heard the name of Angelica. The librarian asks to believe him. He tells that creepy child got into the library thanks to some symbol on his hand, which also glows. It turns out that he peddled her and told her about what she asked to keep quiet about. And he also says that she is kind of strange, is not afraid of anything, and behaves like an adult, but definitely not a child. The assistant did not let this information pass by. He pretended as if this could not happen, but he himself wanted to check everything. He asked the man not to go to the library in the near future, gave him a few days off. This is necessary so that the girl can do what she wanted, be sure that no one will come to her, and during this time, they will follow her. In the end, this traitor made it so that two of the girl's enemies found out that she could go where she shouldn't. The guy thanked his colleague for not keeping silent and telling everything as it was, and after that asked him to continue doing so. The man began to fear that he would no longer be able to go to the library because that child would appear there more and more often. He asked to solve something about this as soon as possible because he doesn't want to lose his job, and if he sees her more often, then that's what will happen. The guy promised that he would do something and admitted that he himself was interested in bringing her back to the way she was before. Boris listened to everything from beginning to end. It was useful information. Now he just needs to use it correctly. Angelica is still in the library. She thought that if there was so much interesting stuff at the entrance, then there must be something else inside. There are so many books here that she can't even reach the third shelf, and there are more than 10 of them. The library is huge. There must definitely be some kind of stepladder here. She walks very quietly between the shelves. Suddenly, someone is here or has appeared while she was talking to the librarian. The girl herself doesn't know what she's looking for, and given the height of the shelves, what she needs may be at the very top. She will never get there. She regretted that she said goodbye to the assistant too early. He could have gotten her from there. Angelica went further and saw another door, and above it there was a sign, "Entry prohibited." Of course, she immediately wanted to get there. There might be something interesting there, but maybe it's just a utility room, a servant's room. She has no other things to do today. Why not check what's there? When suddenly she gets a headache, it seems like a sign that she shouldn't do this. It seems to her that if she leaves here right now and doesn't check what's behind the door, then she'll think about it for a long time and still come back. In order not to waste time, she still stayed, stopped, and began to stand in place to decide on this. You never know what awaits her there. She looked at her hand. The drawing became paler, but it was still there. She looked at him for a long time, when suddenly she heard someone running into the library and running straight towards her. The girl thought it was the man who came to help, but it was her brother who thought she was hiding from someone. It's good that she didn't have time to go further to the door. He would have understood everything right away. But now Angelica is just standing in the library, and he doesn't know what to tell her anymore. The only problem is that she got in here when she shouldn't have, and now she'll have to explain how she did it. He grabbed her hand very hard and ordered her to immediately confess what she needed and what was going on. Until the girl speaks, he is very brave, shouting at her. It is already interesting to see what he will say when she turns and looks at him. Angelica endures, but when he squeezed her hand really hard, it was too much. She had a really bad headache. Then it started to hurt even more. She grabbed her head, and then there was this nasty voice that was impossible to hear. The girl calmly asked him to move away from her, and preferably leave altogether, because she did not want to waste her precious time on someone like him. The boy can't believe his ears. He's never heard anything like this from her, and now he's not going to leave anywhere. Angelica knows how persistent he is, so she said she has no idea why he came. But if he wants to do something, then he should do it quickly and leave her alone. If she can help him in any way, she will help, only to get rid of him as soon as possible. After that, she raised her voice, asked him to let go of her hand, and he did it at that very second. He already wanted to apologize, but he fell silent mid-sentence. If Boris had said this word to the end, he would never have forgiven himself. And he is also very confused, does not know what to say, and regrets that he did not think through his speech in advance. It was very difficult to talk to her. The boy turned away, took it all as a disgrace, and was already thinking about leaving. This look really confuses him. She literally looks through his soul, and goosebumps appear on his body. She couldn't put into words how tired she was of him. Angelica was ready for him to yell at her, demand something, but he was like a child, quiet and didn't know what to do next. She even asked him what he wanted, and he couldn't answer that either. Boris is shaking, although he thought that everything would be the other way around. She already understands that this could last for a very long time and still can't get him out. She told him straight out that she won't leave here. She will come here every day and no one will stop her. It's as if they've switched places. Now he behaves like she used to, and the girl is now brave, like he was before. And she hasn't ordered him to leave here immediately yet. It would be very interesting to see that. Finally, she left him and said that he could stay there. But if she saw or heard him again, it would be his own fault. He has terrible anger. He no longer feels like an older brother. Boris is perplexed. Since when did this start? He feels like a younger sister who can't tell anyone what to do and who no one takes seriously. Angelica walks nearby, looking at the books, specifically so that he doesn't think that she has some other business here. In a couple of minutes, he plucked up his courage, shouted at her, and ordered her never to talk to him like that again. After that, he asked who she was, to tell him where to be, and who not to disturb. He also hit the shelf with books very hard. It shook so hard that some books might fall out. Boris screams even louder, sees that nothing is happening. Angelica is not scared and waits for him to calm down. After that, he stopped behaving like that, started speaking more calmly and offered a compromise. She would listen to him, and he would not tell her father where he saw her. She again didn't react at all, remained silent, and deliberately pretended to be a little worried. The boy went crazy again. He can't scare her, even when he threatens her with his father. Although it worked before, Boris slowly lifts his head up, sees how the books start to move, and understands that he shouldn't have hit so hard then. At least 5 books fall down. One can only pray that no pages get damaged or torn when they fall from such a height. At that moment, one of them fell on his head with a sharp angle. Boris was badly injured. He didn't feel how he lost consciousness. Everything happened unexpectedly and very quickly. The girl was scared for him. She started to look at what was happening to him, and at that moment the boy opened his eyes. He didn't understand what happened. He sees that her whole face is covered in some red spots, and it turns out that she was hurt more than he was. Angelica somehow survived. She feels fine, but her brother is really bad. A couple of seconds passed. She began to feel weak, her eyes darkened, and then Boris noticed that she was starting to fall on him. Not the most pleasant sight. He had never seen her so close before. The girl was lying on him unconscious. He realized that she was even worse off than him, and for a moment he felt guilty. It's lucky that one of them was conscious the whole time, because if they had both fainted, it could have been very dangerous. They lay like that for another 10 minutes. Angelica pressed him down, but he couldn't move. Boris shouted loudly throughout the library and called for help. He was lucky. A maid was just passing by. She called others for help. The assistants carried the girl into the room and immediately put a soft pillow under her head. The doctor examined Angelica. He said that there was nothing serious. The girl would wake up soon and asked to provide her with silence for the next half day. The girl promised that they would do everything, thanked him for his help and walked him to the exit. Then she came back and closed the door to the room to be with Angelica in silence. She could wake up at any moment. The maid thought that it was better not to leave. There were already plenty of servants in this house, and she might just be nearby. She felt very sorry for the girl. They had hardly crossed paths before. The assistant began to think about what to tell her after she opened her eyes. Then she remembered that the child had not had breakfast or even lunch. The girl would definitely feed her and make sure that Angelica did not go hungry. She gently touched her hair. Maybe it would help somehow, and was surprised at how beautiful the girl was. She heard people talking badly about her and doesn't understand why there is so much negativity and anger towards her. She is so sweet. A little time passed. The girl woke up. She feels fine, and they immediately brought her tea and sweets. She asked what happened. Doesn't remember what happened. And they calmed her down and said that it was nothing serious. A book just fell on her head. Angelica begins to remember how it all started. She remembered Boris and immediately got upset. The girl thanked the assistant for being there. It was nice and very unexpected. She asked what was wrong with her brother. The maid said that he was feeling better, but still, he was feeling bad too. The assistant upset her when she said that the doctor asked her not to leave the room and to remain in silence for the foreseeable future. She tells her that she feels fine and it is not necessary, but the maid replied that it is not her decision and she can't do anything about it. They will still watch her and make sure she doesn't go anywhere. And to make this time pass a little more fun, the assistant suggests doing something. She doesn't want to leave her here alone. She has already agreed with her colleagues to replace her, all for the sake of the child. She's never had to do this before, but she's ready in case someone notices and promotes her to headmaid. It turns out that she is not just taking care of the child, she wants to benefit from it, that's all. The assistant can smile as much as she wants, but the girl sees right through her and understands what she really is. She is not going to help her. She will make sure that she does not have to spend time and no one can get something at her expense. Images of her and her brother arguing in the library flashed before her eyes and she immediately wanted to check on him. To begin with, she calmly returned to the pillow, relaxed and began to think about what was more important now. The girl didn't notice how she fell asleep, and she was already moved to another room to have breakfast. She was so surprised that she forgot to ask who did it, and besides, Angelica was so hungry that now she is not interested in anything except food. She has a huge choice of meat dishes, fish, and snacks. She is the kind of child who never refuses food, and she really liked that. Now there is no one with her at the table. Angelica looks at all this food, tormented by the question of where to start. And then it dawns on her that while she was in her sleep, someone could have slipped something into her food. There are enough people around who are capable of doing this, and this is very alarming. Just recently, they brought dried bread into her room, and now suddenly there is such a variety. Everything is very suspicious. She is afraid to try this food, but she still takes a spoon because she is hungry and can no longer hold on. The assistant asks what she doesn't like, and she can't even answer anything. It's possible that the assistant might also be involved in this. I wish I knew if it was dangerous to eat this food, but she can't even ask. No one will tell her the truth. And even if they do, she still won't believe it. When suddenly the girl notices that the assistant takes a spoon, puts food in it, and wants to feed her. After she smiled sweetly at her. Now it's somehow awkward to refuse and say that she won't eat from her. Angelica simply reminded that she is already so old that she can take a spoon and eat herself if she wants to. Then she didn't notice how the girl finally held out a spoon and made her eat it. The girl wanted to spit out everything that was in her mouth, but she held back and swallowed the soup anyway. At that moment, she developed a crazy appetite. She grabbed the spoon herself and started to take everything she could reach with it. She ate indiscriminately, first the rice, then bit off a piece of bread, washed it down with soup, and it didn't look like she was planning on stopping. The assistant had no doubt that she would like everything. Now she would know that it was enough to give her one spoon, and then the child would manage on his own. Then she offered her hot tea. Today they bought a new kind that she should like. It smells like fruit and tastes good too. Angelica didn't notice how full she was. She can't even lift her head or raise her hand to drink tea. She didn't think it would end like this. At first she was afraid to touch anything at all. And in the end I ate so much that I could barely get up from my chair and take a couple of steps. Without listening to anyone, she went outside for a walk. Today the weather is warm, just what she likes. Angelica came to the library again. The door was open and she didn't even have to try to get in. At this moment she realizes that she made a little mistake and went the wrong way. There are some knights shouting around. They are training and some even have real swords in their hands. The girl didn't understand how she could have made a mistake. Apparently she hadn't recovered and she really needed to be in the room in silence. She understood that knights were training here. She had heard something about it before, and now she saw it with her own eyes. These people are professionals in their field. They are already very strong, but they still train to stay in shape. She already thought about leaving here, but she can't take her eyes off it. It's very interesting to watch, especially since she has never seen anything like it before. If she were a boy, she would also want to fight with swords like these people. They run so fast that Angelica doesn't have time to follow them. It's more interesting and easier to watch from the side than to be in their place. She imagines how hard it is to watch the enemy every second and think that at any moment you can get seriously injured or even die. With all this, they use magic. It helps more for defense, and they attack themselves. The girl would really like to come here every day, but she doesn't want to be banned from appearing here. It is still wrong to distract those on whom the safety of an entire estate and even the country depends. At that moment, someone's sword slips out of their hands and falls right toward the steps where a child is standing nearby. She was so scared that they would yell at her or even punish her that she even froze in one place and started making up excuses. In the end, one knight came up to her and said that she had nothing to fear. No one here would do anything bad to her. He calmly said that it was better not to come near here, because like now, you can get hurt by a sword that slipped out of someone's hands. Angelica immediately relaxed. This guy seemed like a good person to her, at least at first glance. After that, the students noticed them, and it turned out that their commander approached her. The guy started apologizing for almost hurting the child. Although they were not guilty of anything, she should not have been here in the first place. Angelica apologized and said that it was all her fault, and even if something had happened, she would still consider herself guilty. She said how impressed she was by how agile and strong they were, and was upset that she wouldn't be able to come here every day. They said that they were very pleased, and the commander replied that this was just the beginning of what they were capable of. She saw an ordinary training session in which there was nothing special. The commander is very strict with his subordinates and is constantly dissatisfied with the fact that they do less than they could. The guys were upset. They went to train, and the commander stayed with the child because he sees how she doesn't want to leave here. Angelica is happy that everything turned out this way. The main thing is that these people do not turn out to be the same traitors as the maid and the librarian. If you think about it, those two people have reasons to act like that. But this person doesn't have such reasons, so you can be calm about him. He has nothing to do with it. When suddenly the guy extends his hand to her, as if inviting her to go somewhere. The girl doesn't even know where they're going, but she's already happy and can't contain her emotions. They left there, walked somewhere. She had never been to such a road before, but she still trusted and was not afraid of anything. He took her into his office, offered her a seat because they were going to be there for a long time, and immediately after that offered her tea. It looks like he's trying to get to know her, but he's trying too hard to please her. Angelica doesn't understand why he's doing this. They don't even have common interests, and there's no reason to stay here, especially, as he says, for a long time. She looks at this tea and understands that she can no longer look at food. The girl had such a hearty breakfast that she doesn't want anything anymore. He thought she didn't like tea, so he offered something else, but she still refused. They talked for a bit, then she got bored. Angelica stops smiling and already wants to say goodbye to him. She just looks at her reflection in the cup and doesn't understand why he keeps her there for so long. It seems like he is hiding something, or he was asked to do it, although no one knew where she was or where she went. Now she's already asking him what they're doing here and why they couldn't have stayed outside. It's much nicer there. The commander got a little nervous. He doesn't answer and thinks what to say. And then he says that he thought he was pretending well, but he greatly overestimated himself, and the girl turned out to be not as naive as he thought. It sounded very unpleasant, but Angelica still doesn't understand what he means. He says that he doesn't want to deceive her at all. He just wanted to take her away from a dangerous place and thought that he could be interesting to her. The commander understood perfectly well that if someone harmed the child, he would be the first to be held accountable for it. So I immediately decided to go somewhere with her, just to get away from sharp objects. And he also doesn't know how to talk to children, doesn't know what's interesting, so he couldn't think of anything other than offering a cup of tea. He was upset that everything turned out this way and explained again that he didn't want anything bad for her. And now that she had already found out everything, it was time for him to go back and finally asked her not to come to the training ground so as not to create unnecessary problems for anyone. Angelica was upset. She had just found a place where she was interested, and now she can't go there either. She is so tired of walking around the whole house alone in the same rooms. And it is also impossible to find friends because no one lets her go beyond the estate. The girl forgot that she returned to the past not to live through the same things, but to change her destiny. She spent several days, but nothing changed. She urgently needs to remember what the goal is and how it can all end if she continues to waste time. After talking with the commander, she went outside, hid behind the corner and started crying. He somehow saw this and immediately came up to support. He understands her perfectly. She has no friends. There are enemies everywhere, but he said that she won't be able to help herself with tears. It was a sign for her to return to her goal and start acting. The commander even told how everything happened for him. He was also very lonely as a child. His parents died early, leaving him alone in this difficult world. But he was able to get out of the bottom and now wants to believe that she will succeed as well as he did. It was a very pleasant conversation. They even became friends, and he also said that if she wanted to cry or was very sad, she could come to him and he would help her. Angelica hadn't heard such words for a long time. She couldn't even imagine that she would have such an adult friend. Then they returned to the table and began to discuss where she could start. He starts waiting for her to tell him everything in more detail, but she can't do this because there's a lot he can't know. She doesn't trust him enough yet to tell him that she came back from the future to take revenge on her family, and not only, she only told him that she wanted to find friends, or at least find some hobby, so that it wouldn't be so boring. They had an awkward pause again. No one knows what to do with it, and time is running out. The commander's at work after all. In order not to waste his time, she asked for only one request, that he pay attention to her at least once a week, if of course he would be interested. The girl didn't think he would react like that. The guy decided to take this matter seriously, promised that he would come up with some options. Because I'm sure that for girls of this age, there are probably different activities that can be done, even at home. He no longer wants to see her crying from loneliness and not being able to have a heart-to-heart talk with anyone. But if only he knew that the problem was not only this, Angelica would really like to tell him everything, but she can't yet. She said that she used to love drawing, but then she got tired of it, and that's not the only problem. They suddenly realized that basically games require at least 2 people, and she doesn't have anyone. He can't constantly run to her to play hide and seek or something like that. And in case he wants to talk about it with her father, Angelica warned, so the man still cares about her more than anyone else, and that he might get angry that someone was trying to help his daughter. So she asked him not to even approach him so that it would not affect his work in future in any way. That everything is so sad for her, in any case, he is not going to leave her and will definitely come up with something. So they sat with her for a very long time and still did not come to any conclusion. The guy even forgot that he had an unsupervised subordinate. He was so carried away by this girl. She herself didn't think that he cared about her at all. Meanwhile, they again stopped at the fact that the whole problem is in the restrictions. She is not allowed to be friends with anyone, and this needs to be fixed. At least she has one friend. It's him. Now there are 2 options left. Either make it so that a girl her age appears in this palace and becomes her friend, or make it so that her father doesn't care whether she is friends with someone or not. Angelica just imagined that she might have a friend, immediately burst into tears, and then he finally understood that he had to make this dream come true. Finally, they have already left there. They sat there for more than several hours. It is high time to take a walk. He brought her to some new place. The girl just saw all this and couldn't believe her eyes. This is the very place where the guard uniforms, arrows, swords, and all that stuff are kept. Apparently, he decided to surprise her, and he succeeded. The girl never thought that she would be in such places. She didn't even know that such places existed. The girl asked what they would do here, and he said that she could walk around and look at whatever she wanted. This is such a small gift so that she won't be sad and will have some fun. Angelica was still upset because if she liked it here, she would come back here again, but it would be impossible. She even said that it would be better if he didn't show it to her at all. Then she started laughing. Then she became sad again, and so on several times. The guy's already confused about what he needs to do for her to make her smile and be happy until the end of the day. He used to think that children were very easy to work with, that it was easy to surprise them, but she was special. She is a little scared to touch all these objects. She asked him to stay close. Suddenly, something would fall on her. He replied that everything was fine. Everything was done here so that no one would get hurt and nothing would fall on her. Then he picked her up and said that this was all he could do for her for now, but he wasn't going to stop there. Angelica looks at him and doesn't believe that he understands what he's promising, but still she's glad that he'll at least try to do it. The girl didn't notice that she spent almost the whole day with him, which means she was comfortable with him and really liked him. And then something happened that no one expected. That assistant came to them, and it turned out that he had been looking for the girl since the morning. He asked what they were doing here, since this was not a place where Angelica often went. He just needs to make sure she's okay. The commander replied that she's under his control and doesn't even know. What kind of relationship does the girl have with this man, and why was he really looking for her? The commander managed to look at her, saw how upset she was, and realized that she should stay with him. He started saying that he would definitely bring her into the house and guarantee that everything would be okay with her. The assistant began to hint that she didn't belong there and offered to take her to the garden. She told him that she doesn't want to go anywhere. She likes it here, especially since an adult is watching her. Everything is according to the rules. The guy noticed that something was going on here and would really like to know what exactly. He feels how the girl is tense at the sight of these people, and these looks do not give him peace. He will definitely discuss this with her, but for now he wants to protect her from them, at least for a while. The commander said that, firstly, Angelica wants to stay here. Secondly, he is personally responsible for her safety. And thirdly, it is daytime outside, and she is not obliged to return to the room. She didn't think he would talk to them like that, and it was very nice. That assistant doesn't give up. He says that the girl should always be under his control, and it would be inconvenient for him to come here every half hour. He doesn't want to leave her here, and the commander asks for what reason, because he is a respected commander who, suddenly, can protect the girl better than any of them. Even though there is no one to protect her from here, he is ready to do anything, if only she would relax and not worry, at least today. If there was a chance, Angelica would always be next to him or ask him not to leave her side for a single step. The guy asked what he said that was incomprehensible and makes such a look that some people even get goosebumps. The assistant said that he understood everything, apologized for disturbing them, and asked only that Angelica return to the house by 9 o'clock, as expected. She was very happy because it meant that they would not come to her anymore, and she could be with her new friend until the end of the day. He winked at her, said that everything was fine, and if someone else came, he still wouldn't give her to anyone. It was so sweet that she didn't even know what to say to him. Meanwhile, evening came. The commander, as promised, took the child into the house. Her assistant met her and asked her to follow him, but he seemed to be in a bad mood. She is sure that now he will either lock her in the room or take her to her father and tell her that she dared to go to the training ground. Nothing else can be expected from him. It is unlikely that he will do nothing after this. At the very least, she's already waiting for words about how naughty she is and how everyone would be better off without her. Although the girl was not happy that he met her, she thanked him for paying attention to her and making sure that she returned home. He replied that it was his job, and if he were not obliged to do it, he would gladly not even remember it. And also, it doesn't matter to him what she did. He just had to inform the gentleman that he had checked on her and fulfilled his duties. Then he went about his business, and before that, he asked not to go anywhere else and not to create problems. The guy slammed the door so hard that she wanted to run out and hit him with the same force. Meanwhile, the commander did not listen to his little friend and still came to her father. This is a very brave act. He doesn't even know how it could end. And what is the real relationship between the Duke and little Angelica? The guy says he has a very important conversation and he never thought he would talk to him about such a topic. The Duke asked what is so important and why they met so urgently. The commander is very worried. He already thinks that he came in vain. But then he pulled himself together and said that the problem was with Angelica and the fact that she spent her childhood alone, locked up, and couldn't meet anyone. Because he thinks that the gentleman is a loving father towards all his children, he is sure that he will only do better. He still has before his eyes Angelica, who asks him to be her friend. He says that he really wants her to get more attention because he noticed that there are problems with this. The man calmly drinks his drink, doesn't react in any way, and doesn't even know what to say to this. His reputation is very important to him, so he pretended to be grateful for this information. But in reality, he thinks about how to do it so that the commander will see that he is deciding something about this and will not bother him about it anymore. The guy feels like he said too much. He wants to turn back time, but it's too late. At first, the gentleman was calm, said that he thanked for the attention, and literally half an hour later, the guy was taken out into the street. He realized that something was wrong, and only now the man explained that no one has the right to interfere in his family and that he will deal with the problems himself if he thinks that they exist. He wants to punish the commander not only for communicating with his daughter, but also for not being at his workplace for half a day. The guy remembers that the girl warned him about this and regretted not listening to her. In fact, the gentleman showed how he could have treated him, but he forgave him, and only this time. They returned to the office. The commander realized that he had really gone where he was not asked. He apologized many times. The man didn't even listen to him. He just warned that next time it would be for real, and then he definitely wouldn't get off. He was very lucky, only then, because he is an excellent commander. He stayed alive, otherwise, if the master did not care about him, everything could have been different. Now he understands why the girl was so afraid that her father would find out who she spent time with. He started to remain silent, realized his mistake, but still doesn't intend to leave the girl. He decided to first get out of this office and then come up with a plan that would make everyone happy. Meanwhile, the girl's assistant had already come and helped her tidy up the room. I brought food for the child to have a snack, and after that, I started doing her hair. The girl remembers that this maid is with her so often that her father notices it. She doesn't even talk to her because she sees right through this person and knows that she is not being sincere with her. Sometimes she even specifically asks her to do more than necessary. It's such an imperceptible revenge. She deserves it. In the meantime, they had already done her hair. The girl thanked them for it and said that the assistant could be free. Now she wants to be alone, but the girl refused. She has nothing else to do and she wants to stay here. Angelica was very upset, but she didn't have the strength to talk to her and explain that she didn't want to see anyone. Out of boredom, the girl begins to look through her mistress's clothes to see if there is anything dirty lying around there by chance. The girl doesn't know what else she'll come up with after this. She wants to be alone for at least a couple of minutes, a little more, and she will tell her not to come here anymore and to leave her alone. A little time passed. Angelica went out into the corridor for a walk and accidentally met two people. They immediately ruined her mood. This is the assistant and the younger brother, who have not noticed her yet. She calmly came up, said hello, and asked why they were standing there. The assistant reacted normally, and Boris does not hide that he is not happy to see her. They don't understand why she came up to them. She always used to pass by and was afraid to draw attention to herself. The brother had already forgotten about her. They hadn't seen each other all day, and this was a very unexpected meeting for him, when suddenly he remembers that she was recently unconscious, so he asks how she feels. He himself felt better almost immediately, and during this time he didn't even come to her, and now he feels guilty. Angelica was surprised that he was interested in this at all, and then said that she felt fine, but if he hadn't pulled her, it would have been much better. The boy didn't even notice how he attacked her. He was so worried that he didn't look like himself there. The girl said that nothing hurt anymore, thanked him for his concern, and asked again who they were waiting for there. Angelica thought that if everyone around her was ruining her mood, then why shouldn't she do the same? Started telling her that they had things to do now, and she would only get in the way. Asked not to interfere in something that was none of his business, but surprisingly, he didn't even raise his voice. The assistant stands aside, not understanding how this is possible. decided to leave them alone and knocked on the door next to him. The commander is still in the Duke's office. He has already received several tasks and it looks like a punishment. He said that he would not bother him about it anymore, but the Duke still would not let him go. He wants to know what exactly this man discussed with his daughter and how much he knows. It's lucky that Angelica didn't tell him anything, and he has no answer to this question. The gentleman began to put pressure on her morally and physically, but he didn't succeed. The guy really doesn't know anything. He only heard that she has problems with friends and interests. He is already sweating, worried and thinking about how to get out of here as soon as possible. He hasn't been interrogated like this for a long time, and he's also afraid that the man might get angry at any moment. At least now I'm calm, and it doesn't look like something like this could happen. At that moment, he decided to say goodbye himself, thanked for the attention, and slowly began to get up from the sofa. When suddenly the door opens and two children come in. They apologized for disturbing their father, but most of all, the Duke did not expect to see Angelica here. Her new friend was very happy to see her. He smiled because he sees that she is okay, and most importantly, she is not alone. Meanwhile, it started to rain heavily outside, and the Duke joked that soon everyone in the house would come to this office. He wanted to relax in Yaroslavets, but he already had 3 people who wanted to discuss something. Boris said right away that the girl came because she was bored, and he came on business. He demands that more sweets be added to the children's menu, because the couple of candies a day that they give him are not enough for him. Angelica almost laughed when she heard his request. She thought he had something serious, and at that moment the father can barely restrain himself from ordering him to leave this office. They have already discussed this problem more than once. He is not going to give them a lot of sweets because it has a bad effect on health. The Duke thought to see these two quarreling as if a brother was angry with his sister. But for the first time they behave calmly and don't even shout at each other. He never ceases to be amazed at how everything in this house changes every day. Angelica and the commander feel out of place here, but still stand calmly in place, so as not to attract unnecessary attention and not to stay here for a long time. At that moment, no matter where she was, the girl decided to talk to her friend. She said that she was very glad to see him and did not even look towards her father, who did not finish speaking with his son. She wanted to irritate him, but it didn't work. Although it is possible that he will invite her to his place separately later. The next day came. Father finally corrected the children's menu. He added sweets to it. The girl didn't think that it would spread to her, but still, she was pleased. She also loves sweets, just like Boris. And when she started breakfast with dessert instead of salad, the assistant was so surprised, as if it were some kind of dangerous food. But it's just a fruit sponge cake with cream. Angelica said that this is the best breakfast in recent times, and if possible, she would like to start every day like this. The girl is very much against children eating a lot of sweets. Apparently, that's why their menu was almost without sweets. It was with her that the gentleman discussed what they would feed the children, and if Angelica had known this earlier, she would have sorted it out long ago. As soon as she ate a couple of spoons of dessert, she immediately felt energetic, which she had been missing all this time. The girl remembered that she had a goal and got angry at herself for daring to waste so much time, but didn't show it in any way. She remembered that the day would soon come when she would be thrown into the abyss, and imagined what she would say to the person with whom she had made a contract. She didn't have time to think about it before that commander knocked on the door, but he didn't look happy at all. The girl immediately ran up to him and asked how she could help, and he just came to see how she was doing. She already thought that he was afraid to approach her, but he is brave and she likes it. The assistant reminded that the lady hadn't finished her breakfast, but Angelica didn't even listen to her. She had already forgotten about her dessert and noticed that her friend wasn't even looking her in the eyes. Apparently, he still doesn't want anyone to know that they are friends, and he behaves very reservedly. Angelica understands everything. She told him that she is grateful for everything and that she is fine. He really wanted to hear this. Calmed down and was already getting ready to go back. Words cannot express how much he would like to stay here, but he gave his word to the master and cannot do otherwise. He wants to believe that one day he will be free in this, and she too. He had a new dream, to see Angelica with her friend, or better yet, outside the estate, somewhere in the park. The girl has become a very close person to him, and he is often surprised by this. He never thought that he would want to help a stranger child. They've known each other for literally a couple of days, and he already treats her like a little sister, which you want to protect, cherish, and solve all its problems. He is genuinely happy when she laughs or says how good she feels with him. And also, he can't admit to himself that he has long wanted to start a family and have the same beautiful and sweet daughter. He doesn't understand how one can treat a child as badly as the Duke. They had a very hard time breaking up again. The girl asked him to stay for tea and promised that if there were any problems because of this, she would solve everything. Although she has no idea how she will do it, she still managed to persuade him. And then he became very serious. At first, Angelica was scared. And when he said he had a plan, I got even more scared. He wants her to make peace with her father and make him love her more than anyone else. The girl doesn't even want to hear anything about it. She immediately said that it's impossible and not even up for discussion. The guy laughed. He begins to convince her that the Duke is not so bad, but he doesn't even realize how wrong he is. Angelica can't even imagine that she would start loving her father, and even more so that it would be mutual. She doesn't even want to think about it. It's out of the question. She will never do it for anything. Dookie Lai is not the man she will try for. He is her enemy, and it is good that she remembers it. Meanwhile, the weather outside has gotten very bad. A heavy downpour began. There was such a noise in the yard that it could be heard even inside the house. At the time when everyone started to wrap up warm and drink tea, the girl went outside. She started crying loudly and didn't notice how someone appeared next to her. She wanted to throw out all her emotions, to be in silence. But someone joined in and even covered her with an umbrella. Angelica was very scared. She had never seen this man in her life and had no idea what he was doing here. She had already forgotten that she wanted to cry. She thought about running into the house, but then she realized that she wouldn't have time anyway. He was too close. She began to hope that it was some kind of guest, but it was strange that he came through the backyard. After a couple of minutes, he left silently. The whole time, he didn't say a single word. Angelica calmed down and began to think who it could be. She doesn't remember anyone saying that her father was expecting someone. Usually they talk about it in advance. Maybe it's some friend of her father who came with another woman and wanted to make a surprise. This man had already entered their house. Boris met him, the girl followed them, and realized that they knew each other. The boy immediately ran up to this man. He didn't expect to see him. And when my brother started asking why he didn't warn me and came in such terrible weather, the guest replied that he had two pieces of news for them, one good, one bad, and it would be better if they discussed it with his father right now.